Welcome to Human After All with Sabika Jasmine. Real conversations about life, love, loss, relationships, and shared human experiences. This podcast was created as a space for honest conversations about life, the moments that shape us, the experiences that transform us, and the stories that remind us of our shared humanity. In this first episode, I would like to create a space where I can be with you with nothing in the way by sharing something deeply personal. A chapter of my life that changed me forever. Amayah, her name was. A name which literally means close to God in Arabic. I had a few names shortlisted for my first child. Nothing final, but on the day when I was told at the hospital, "Your baby has died," they asked me, "Does she have a name?" When I answered without thinking, Amayah came out of my mouth. This is my personal story about my experience of stillbirth. My baby dying came as a deep, impactful shock to me. I could not have imagined, or I was naive to the fact that something like this could happen just days before I was preparing to welcome my beloved child to the world and my family. Amayah was taken from me by an act of nature. There had been no complications throughout my pregnancy. I had been going through my pregnancy and feeling everything was on track. But I began to notice a change in Amayah's movements inside me. I stopped feeling them at all. I called the hospital. They asked me to come in immediately. When I was told Amayah was stillborn, I went into shock. I felt numb and there were no tears. Today, I'm here to speak openly about my experience, the grief, the impact, and what I have discovered along the way about myself and about life and moving forward. Grief is something many people experience, yet so often it is carried quietly. And I want you to know there is support and love available to you during the worst of times, the times when you yourself cannot see the future and even get out of bed. On Human After All, I'm joined by Jay. Jay was with me throughout my journey after I lost Amayah. She has made it possible for me to feel the pain and still keep on walking. Jay is my counsellor and now a very good friend. After all, I have told her things that I have told no one else and shared the most vulnerable time of my life with her. Jay has spent around 20 years of her life in a career counseling people and being with them through the most challenging and difficult time of their lives. I wouldn't be here without Jay. Thank you so much for everything you have done and who you have been for me. I appreciate you supporting me once again, this time to share this difficult conversation for me. You asked me before we recorded this podcast what I would want to get out of this. And simply put, it is healing and also giving other mothers and families the access to hear themselves in my experience with the hope that we can engage openly in a topic not widely discussed and remove the social stigma of stillbirth, pregnancy losses, early terminations, so no one needs to feel ashamed or guilty and understand grieving, while incredibly uncomfortable and difficult, is a key part of the healing process. Because sometimes the most meaningful conversations begin when we allow ourselves to be fully human after all. Welcome, Jay.
Hi, Sabika.
I have given a bit of the introduction of you and what you have been to me. Would you like to introduce yourself in your own words, who Jay is?
That's a really hard question to answer. I'm retired now. I have spent a lot of that retirement time taking care of my mum and my dad, who recently passed away as well. So I personally have a journey of being told when I was 30 that I would not have children naturally and I needed to do IVF, which I did, and it didn't work. that was a really difficult thing at that age and challenge to work through. So I decided that I wanted to become a counsellor. It led me to working with families and to show families that there's a really optimistic way of capturing a life. I felt very blessed to be sitting with families when they did have a child loss. Being a grief counsellor and working in that grief space, grief is so unique. So a grief journey for you and your journey, Sabika, is going to be completely different to anyone else's journey. And that's a really important thing for people to understand. The journey is so unique that it cannot be replicated. So when I'm sitting with you and I'm talking with you and I'm walking with you, because that's what a grief journey is, it's actually walking beside that person and tailoring how you support them that works for them and just getting to know them. And it is a privilege for me as a counsellor to be with families. Husbands are often forgotten as well. And just to walk that journey with families and their mothers, their sisters, and the support we provided was not just the mums and the dads, and it was family support.
Yeah. And I remember my journey, I got to know about the service you provide through the hospital. I just got in touch with you when I was in the hospital. So that's when I got the first call. After that, you came into my house, in my space. For me, if I was asked to go somewhere and meet a counselor or a psychologist or someone who can help me through this, I would not have gone because I just wanted to be inside my house. I just don't want to get up from my couch. And that's what happened for days. But you coming into my space provided me that opportunity. So what is the idea behind that service that you do when you go to other people's house and in their space?
One of those really important things about grief and a loss of a child is you are not going to want to put your makeup on and go down the street or come and see me. So you are completely numb. The feelings that you have when you're told that your child is not with you and you're not taking your child home from hospital are feelings that are indescribable to you and to other people. What is needed is for you to just be home in your little bubble. And we understand as an organisation at the time that's really important for you to not have to do anything, make any effort. I'm coming to see you in your home. And it's actually a privilege for me to be in that space with you and meeting your husband and supporting him at the same time as well.
Yeah, and if you would have gone to houses with big families as well, not only husbands. In my case, it was only him and me in the house. But then I have spoken to you so much about my family who don't live with me here, but definitely they were on the calls and they were all impacted. But then how everybody takes the impact is different as well. And they are not physically living with me here. So we used to discuss more issues about how my family is impacting me or is helping and not helping at the same time in this journey. You would have discovered this when you go to different people's houses, that there is a different energy between different relationships, mother and daughter, when this happens, then siblings, husband or partner. Are there any learnings you would like to share from that or any experiences from your perspective?
Due to the experience being so unique, it's actually your decision and your husband's decision about how they will participate in what we have to offer. Some families we would see twice or 3 times. Other families we would see a lot longer because their need was more and they were more happy to chat. Some people in grief actually find talking not helpful, and other people find talking about it very helpful. And some parents, even when you've got relationships with daughters, when a child is lost and it's the grandparent that's lost their grandchild, you're their child. And so they want to protect and love you, and you're experiencing something horrific and they're watching you and your pain, and they feel their pain very differently as the expectation of being a grandparent for the first time. It's complex trauma. And that's something that families don't realise. And some mothers want to be around their children at the time, and some daughters don't want that. So our role was to navigate that in a way that supported the family and just assured families that, they will get through this. You never say to somebody that you need to get over it, because you'll never get over the loss of a child.
Yes.
That child will always stay with you. You are never going to forget that you've lost a child, whether you've lost a child in the first 5 or 6 weeks or whether you've lost a child stillbirth or a 2-year-old. You're never going to forget the child.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important to actually name the child, to do some really important rituals that suit your family and suit your faith and suit who you are as a person. Going through a grief journey is the most challenging thing that you could ever do in that space where it's so unexpected. And it's why it's different when it's an older family member who passes away. You think, they've had their life, there's blessings in that as well. It's still very sad.
Yeah.
You're expecting the child that you've dreamt about and you've visualised that child. You've made memories in your mind when you're pregnant that child's going to be with you, and you've given her a nickname or him a nickname. That child is always going to be in your thoughts. Yeah. And I'm sure Amayah is with you every day.
Yeah, and it's been 5 years, February 2021, and still it just is as fresh. So I have a living daughter now, Azel, but that doesn't make the pain or that reality of that loss go away. So it can't be replaced. I think it's also the belief of certain people and certain cultures, especially with the pregnancy losses, miscarriages, then stillbirths, because the child never came on the earth, so on the planet, so never was living with us. Just forget about it, move on, and try for the next one. If you spend more time living that memory and looking at the photos and just reliving all that with the help which is provided as well, because if I'm taking help and then there's this person coming into my space and reliving those moments again and again, I will never be able to move forward or move ahead and have another child. I think that's a limiting belief in certain cultures. It's, in my experience, very different to India and how it is here. In Australia, for us as well, when we were given a chance to photograph our daughter at the hospital, they all come and they respect everything. They will be mindful of what you have gone through, but they will just capture those moments and your daughter and you guys with her, and that will be in your memory. We said no. And why do we do that? Because of the mindset we have. And we don't want it. We just don't want anybody in this room. And of course, not with cameramen and photographs and everything. But then bless the nurse who was with us. The last day, she captured a few pictures. The 5th day, when she was just about to be taken for the burial, that's when the nurse captured a few pictures, and that's what is with me. And I'm so grateful and so thankful that we allowed that in the moment. And now I have a shelf with Amayah's memories. So a memory box, which I got from the hospital, the blanket, the little dress which she was wearing, a teddy bear. That's so important. So honoring that. So have you also experienced this when you go to different cultures, and how you navigate that?
I mean, we supported all families from all different cultures and faiths, and you need to, as a counsellor, you actually need to know how they feel about where their child's going, or, you can't make assumptions about how they might feel. So it's really important to them if we ask them, where would you like your little one to be? How would you like to visualise that for you? That's really important to them, because then they get to think about that and go, well, this is what our faith is, and that works for them. It's important that you don't make assumptions about things and allow that to come through.
So have you had any training in what you did before you retired in this, and having so many years of experience? Did you?
No, you can't learn any of that out of a book.
Yeah.
My colleague and I, we were together and worked together as a team for about 8 years. We always said that this is not a job, this is a gift, and we are a gift to our clients. It didn't feel like hard work to me, and it didn't feel like hard work to her either. It was just something that you had to have, that empathetic nature for people to want to be open with you. And it's really important. I'm calling you and you're in the hospital and I've got possibly 30 seconds for you to think, I will say yes or I won't. You could say, yes, I do want counselling, and the counsellor calls you and you go, oh no. So we have a very limited time to make a really quick connection with the parents and explain to them how helpful it is to have somebody. I guess you had to be an experienced counsellor to gauge that.
Yeah.
It's a journey for you and it's a journey for us, and so we're learning all the time from you as clients.
And then this beautiful relationship which we developed after, and this is unique. I'm pretty sure you would not be friends with everybody you meet and everybody you go into. So I don't know what word to put to that, but if I would not have lost Amayah, I would not have got you. So when I look back, that's something which I reflect on, the meaning you give to things when they happen to you. So I would not have known Jay or have got Jay's friendship at all if I would not have lost Amayah. And same with now when I have Azel. So Azel is my third pregnancy. We had an early miscarriage second time. So 2021, I lost Amayah. 2023, Azel came after 2.5 years. And then I had a break in between, like, I can't do this anymore. I need some time to process. And then Azel came to us. And the loss of Amayah, I could have had 2 kids in this time span if everything was fine. But it would not have been Azel. Would have been somebody else.
It would have. And that's what's really important about a grief journey, is that when this happens, it can be the darkest, the most incredibly difficult time in your life. And it could also be some incredible learnings, some amazing things happen from that loss. It's really important when you're talking to other people about loss. It's like you never say to somebody, you know, it's God's plan or it's meant to be or, you know, those things are really unhelpful to say to anyone. Because how can a God have a plan to not have a child on our planet or in our family? So it's not a helpful thing to say. Things happen that are really, really difficult in life. People have other things that have happened that aren't child loss that are really tragic and are really difficult. So nobody kind of says, oh, well, that's God's plan. They think, oh, that's going to be a helpful thing to say. And it's not. That's one of the most unhelpful things to say to anyone.
That's a very good point, actually, because when I say that I lost a few friends, a lot of my friends were helping me in that journey as well, cooking food and dropping stuff on my door. Just dropped some grocery and then called me that, can you pick it up from your door? And I don't want to come inside. That's fine, whenever you're ready. And then some people just sitting with me, talking on phone. So that support. But then I've lost certain relations as well who did not know what to say.
Yes.
So that's what I've learned through you also. It's best not to say anything. Just sit when you're supporting someone than saying something which will just tarnish the relationship for the whole life.
Or you say to them, look, I don't know what to say. And you as a grieving person is going to say, look, there is nothing anyone can say that is going to make this moment any better. It's about being in that moment and feeling that pain and feeling the incredible loss that you've gone through. And even now, 5 years on, you can be sad. And it's really important to sit with that sadness and think, well, I wonder what that sadness is about. Is that because Amayah isn't here with her little sister? And that's okay. And you can be really upset by that. But you'll get through that. It's really important to actually think about when you are feeling sad, what is in that sadness? Not just crying, but what is that sadness, and really feeling that for yourself is really important. It doesn't matter how many years. When I speak to my mum and her generation, she's in her 80s, they all speak of loss. All of my mum's friends, they've all had a miscarriage, they've all had a child loss, they've all had a stillbirth, and no support. Didn't talk to their husbands about it, didn't talk to anyone about it. As soon as they find out what I do for a living, they want to talk to me because they know that it's helpful. Sometimes it's really helped them even 60 years on, 50 years on, because nobody gave them the space to speak of it.
So in your opinion, what is not resolved or is not processed by a person when they don't sit with those emotions, or they just neglect them, or they just cover them, or they just don't talk about them, hide them? and let's move on with life. So what is impacting them? How will it come out in later stage of life in your experience?
It could come out in just feeling really sad all the time and not realising that that's what the sadness is about and not being able to feel joy. I remember speaking to a family once and he said at the time he never thought that he would actually feel joy ever again. And it took that family at least 5 years to feel joy, but they did because they did seek help and because they were able to talk about it. When someone doesn't talk about it, maybe they like to write about it, maybe they like to journal, and it doesn't necessarily be needing a conversation with somebody. It can also be just writing in a journal and just writing down those feelings and getting that out on paper if they're not a chatty person or don't have that space. So that can be really helpful too.
Yeah, I've learned that from you as well, writing. And my friends gifted me a journal with Amayah printed on that. And that was what I just used to write things. And I wrote poems at that time. So I don't know where that came from. I'm not a poet. I didn't write anything after that. But it's just those feelings, I think, were really good to process at that time. For me, I'm in IT. I just close my Windows L, my laptop at 5 o'clock, and that's it. Then I'm not thinking about it. How do you cope when you take all that energy from that home? How do you cope up with your mental health? How do you just switch off?
It became apparent to me when I retired that I couldn't do it anymore. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to help families like I was. So there's a time as a grief counsellor where you do get to, especially working in that child loss space. I do a lot of exercise. I always walked about 6 kilometres every day. And sometimes I would even meet a client and go for a walk because they don't want to sit around and talk. Yeah. And that's also a really healing thing to do.
Is there anything else you would like us to know before we wrap up our episode?
Yes, what I'd like to share is that I actually went and did some study on relationships with husbands and wives. And actually, when I had a couple sitting with me and they were really grieving very differently, he wanted his wife before the loss and he was never going to get that. She wanted him to understand how this was for her. And there's a real disparity in how husbands, wives, families, parents grieve. So I know that some people think, counselling's not for me or I don't like talking, but look for somebody who's empathetic, who can really hear you and see you. Give it a go, and I think that's a really helpful thing to do.
Thank you, Jay, for sharing your wisdom and walking this journey with me. I acknowledge today's conversation was deeply emotional, and I want to honor the courage it takes to sit with stories of grief and loss. If you are listening to this and you have experienced pregnancy loss or stillbirth, please know you are not alone and there is strength in seeking support and connecting with others. Your grief is real, your love is real, and your child mattered. Grief is not something we truly get over. It just changes shape with time. Some days it's heavy and some days it feels quiet. But what remains constant is love. Amayah may not be here in the way I once imagined, but she will always be a part of my story, part of who I am, and part of the love I carry forward. Thank you for listening to Human After All with Sabika Jasmine. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply speak about what happened and allow space for others to feel seen. If you or someone you love is navigating grief and needs support, I have linked some resources and helplines in the description below. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to stay connected. There are many more stories ahead, stories of love, resilience, connection, and life lived fully, even in the most difficult moments. You can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you feel called, share this with someone who may need to hear it. In our next episode, I'll be joined with a friend who faced one of life's deepest challenges and continues to navigate it with courage and heart. Her story is a remarkable reminder of resilience, love, and the human spirit. And I can't wait for you to hear it. This episode is recorded at ABC Radio, edited and produced by Troy Sincock. I am Sabika Jasmine. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for embracing the human experience after all.